notes here. We are on, I don't know what week we're on, but we have been working our way through the 10 commandments. Pastor Rob has spent, I'm thinking there's been 4 commands and he did 2 weeks on one, so I think it's been about 5 weeks of going through this. And I know I heard he tested you guys the other week, and you all weren't super eager to answer his questions. So I wasn't sure like how I should go about the review today. I was like, do I test them again? Do I just tell you what we've talked about? Like, how do we do this? So I'm kind of reading the room. So I'm not reading like you guys are eager to be like Sunday school answers, no? Okay. So I'll just tell you. On week 1, Pastor Rob did a great foundation, and I've gotten some of the weeks mixed up. I don't remember if that was the week he had the shelves. I know he had the shelves up 2 weeks in a row. But we talked about how the 10 commandments are a great foundation to like build your life on, and you kind of have to get it in place, and then everything else works out. There was a whole analogy with a shelf. It was great. And then we also talked about the first command, which God says, I am the Lord your God. There is no other God but me. And we talked about how God should be the only God that we worship. He's the one true God. And then following that, the second command was, don't make, okay, you guys know this one. Don't make any idols. See, I knew you could do it. Okay. Don't make any idols. And we talked about how that means God needs to be number one. At least that's how we tell the kids in kids' church, is we got to put God first. And so there shouldn't be anything in priority above God. God is number one. And those are a very great foundation to build the rest on, to build your life on. Then Pastor Rob tackled the whole command that says, don't misuse God's name. And he explored it with you, and we learned that it's not just about words that we use, but it's about our lifestyle and how we live. And as followers of Jesus, we need to be careful what we say in the name of God and how we act in the name of God, not just how we use his name, which obviously we want to be cautious and use his name worthily. We don't want to use it as a swear word, but there's even more depth to that command than that. And then he's just spent 2 weeks on remembering the Sabbath. Now, I only have heard the first week. The second week, because he's been on holidays, didn't get put up. So I don't know. I'm still on a cliffhanger about that one. But he talked about the importance of taking a day of rest and how we take a day of rest to delight in God, to just delight in God and do things that delight us. So I know for myself, when I take Sabbath, one of the things I love to do is go sit by water, and I love to create, like however that looks. It could be drawing, it could be, I was going to say music, but it's not music. But it could be, I create in different ways. And those are things I do on my Sabbath. But I'm sure Pastor Rob talked how your Sabbath might look very different than mine. But just the importance of taking a day of rest. Now, with all 4 of those commands, they all deal very much with ourself and our relationship with God, right? Like it's very, not horizontal, vertical type of relationship. Like putting God first, worshiping God, having a day of rest so that we are like healthy and whole so that we can serve God, and that day of rest to remember God. And so all of those 4 commandments very much deal vertically, us and God, our relationship. And I don't think that's by coincidence, because we're about to start command 5, and this is where the commands take a turn. Because suddenly they're going to turn not so much focusing on our relationship with God, but our relationship with others. And I don't think there's a coincidence there that God started with commands about our relationship with him. That in order for us to have the best relationships with others, it helps if we have a solid relationship with him and we're honoring him with our life so that we can then honor others and have a solid relationship with others. So we're going to take a turn. Now, before we take and dig into this command, do I have any movie lovers in the room? Anyone here like movies? You don't want to admit it. Okay, I like movies. I watch a lot of movies. You might not like the movies I watch, but I know it's well known. It's still well known here too, that I like cheesy made-for-TV Hallmark movies. Like, they know, they found out. So I do like those movies, but I also have a soft side for a good spy movie. Anyone? Spy? No? Anyone? How about like an adventure action, like Indiana Jones type, I do have a soft spot for those movies too. Love them. Just me? Okay. Oh, okay, good. I was like, oh no, they're all judging me out there. Okay. Well, in a spy movie or in an adventure movie like Indiana Jones, there's this type of scene that in spy movies, it usually involves laser beams. In an adventure movie, it usually involves stones on the ground or tiles that are booby-trapped. But in each of these movies, there's like scenes where the characters are trying to get to something valuable, usually to steal it, but I'm not condoning that. But that's another command. We'll talk about another day. But the characters are trying to get across this space to get this object, and then there's like they have to dodge either laser beams if it's a spy movie, you know, they're climbing over, they don't want to get cut by the laser beams or set off the alarm. Or in the action movie, it's like stones, like Indiana Jones has to jump on the certain stone. If he steps on the wrong stone, the booby traps are gonna come out and something's gonna off you. So those kind of movies. You guys can picture the scenes. You've seen a scene like that before. Yes? No? Okay, perfect. Well, I was thinking and preparing for this message today, and I feel like I'm a little bit like one of those characters about to cross a deadly room to get to the other side. Whether it's laser beams or stones, you can choose. But I feel a little bit like one of those characters because when we dig into this command today, it can hit some pretty sensitive topics for people. And so I'm a little like, I'm approaching it very respectfully and hesitantly because I know that it can be a painful topic for some. And now you're all on the edge of your seat. Like, what is she going to say that she's so nervous about? Perfect. I have you where I want to. But I just hear my heart as we dig into this message and into this command. I just want to let you know from the top that I know that this is not an easy topic for all. And I just ask you to hang in with me, okay? And we will kind of address what to do in the difficult parts where it's hard to apply this. But so just hang with me, okay? We're going to cross the room together, and hopefully we all make it to the other side, okay? So let's get in. So next command is found. We're going to actually, I don't know if Pastor Rob mentioned this, but the commandments are actually mentioned in Exodus 20 as well as in Deuteronomy 6. So we're going to read it in both those passages. So starting in Exodus 20, verse 12. If you have a Bible and you want to open it up, that's where we're heading. Exodus 20, verse 12. And it says, honor your father and mother. There's like just one student, two students in the room. They're not even listening. Honor your father and mother. Ouch. So that you may live long in the land your God is giving you. Deuteronomy 5:16 says, honor your father and mother as your Lord God has commanded you, so that you may live long and that it may go well with you in the land your Lord God is giving you. Honor your father and mother. And when Pastor Rob first gave this message or this command to me to talk on, I was like, what am I going to talk about for a half hour about that? Like, because we teach that in kids' church, and it's like, obey your parents. And that's like the whole gist of it. But as I really started thinking about it, and I've realized the older I get and the more people I meet, families are not so simple. And people's relationships with their families and their parents is not so simple. And we live in a broken world. And so this command is not as simple as it may first sound. When we speak to a young child, it seems simple to say, obey your parents, honor them. But as we grow up and as we become adults, that becomes tricky. And it can be painful. And everyone has different life experiences. And so I was like, oh, this one could go deep for some. And this command, again, it can be a hard one for some. It could be easy for some. But we're going to look at it in two parts here. So again, I need you to hang with me. We're first going to look at the purpose behind the command. Why would God give us this command? What's the reasoning behind it? What was the goal behind it? And then we're going to dig into what does that look like practically in the good, the bad, and the ugly. What does that look like? And how can we honor our parents in every situation? We're going to dig into that. So just hang there. Just hang with me, okay? But first, let's look at what is the reasoning. Why would God give us this command? When God gave the command to Israel, families back then looked very different than families today. The majority of those families would have been mom and dad and kids who were also living with grandparents, maybe some aunts and uncles. They were multi-generational families, and it would be very rare to have a single parent. And even a single parent family would, again, be in a multi-generational family. So families then looked very different than families today. Let's talk about families today. You guys, just picture your neighbors or just what we see out if you're in schools at all. You meet kids, they have lots of different families, right? In Canada today, we have families that, yes, some are made up of mom and dad and kids. We have other families that are a parent and step-parents and kids. We have blended families. We have single-parent families. We have kids who are being raised by same-sex parents, kids transgender parents. We have other families who are dealing with so much more, like trauma, like abuse, like addiction. Like family is so complicated in our culture today. And not that some of that wasn't back in Israel, it just was not as prominent as it is today. And so when we look at how family has shifted and how it's changed, it almost feels like this command can feel irrelevant in so many situations today. It feels that way, right? Like God's telling you to honor your parents, but he couldn't have meant all of this over here, right? It feels like we've shifted, and it's like this command can't be relevant. It can't. It just doesn't translate anymore. But I got thinking, and I have a picture to show you guys. Do we have the picture of, oh, there it is. So it came up, I was cleaning our nursery this week, and our nursery door has a lock like this on it. I call it a deadbolt. I'm not sure, there's probably a more specific name. But if you've seen these locks, sometimes they're on bathroom stalls, but there's that like mechanism that slides, and then there's a hole on the left side, right, that's on the wall, that the sliding piece goes in and that locks the door. Our nursery one, though, it's shifted. So when I go to lock the door, the lock really doesn't work anymore, or you have to fight with it because things have shifted, and it just doesn't make sense. Like, it doesn't work, it doesn't make sense, it doesn't do what it's supposed to do. But I felt God prompt me that, you know what, just because the lock doesn't work doesn't mean the purpose has changed. Just because it feels like things have shifted in the lock, the purpose for the lock is still the same. The door still needs to be locked. It just something else needs to be shifted to fix it. And the same is true with this command, is even though our family's situations have shifted, God's purpose for the command hasn't changed. And it's still very relevant for us today. So just an analogy that I came up with. So let's take a look at what would God's purpose for this command be. We're going to kind of start, because in order to understand the purpose behind the command, we have to understand, yes, the child side of it, honor your mother and father, but we also have to look at the parent side of it. There's two sides to this command, really. And how does the Bible teach that a parent should be? And then why should a child honor it? So we're going to read some scripture, okay? So Madeline's got them ready. Here we go. Proverbs 22, verse 6 says, "Start children off the way they should go, and even when they are old, they will not turn from it." Deuteronomy 6, 4-7 says, God speaking to Israel, he says, "Hear, O Israel, the Lord our God, the Lord is one. Love the Lord your God with all your heart and with all your soul and with all your strength. These commands that I give you today are to be on your hearts. Impress them on your children. Talk about them when you sit at home and when you walk along the road, when you lie down and when you get up." Then moving into the New Testament, Colossians 3, 20-21 says, "Children, obey your parents in everything, for this pleases the Lord. Fathers," and I think we could put mothers in there too, "but fathers, do not embitter your children, or they will become discouraged." Ephesians 6, 1-4, "Children, obey your parents in the Lord, for this is right. Honor your father and mother, which is the first commandment with a promise, so that it may go well with you and that you may enjoy a long life on earth. Fathers, do not exasperate your children. Instead, bring them up in the training and instruction of the Lord." So from these verses, we see that the biblical model for parenting really is about training your child in the ways of the Lord, but also just practically and teaching them how to live, what to do, what not to do, how to take care of themselves, teaching them good morals, teaching them about society. Like, parenting is a hard job. Now, not everyone in the room would know this disclaimer. I am not a parent. I'm an auntie, though, so I've gotten to watch firsthand my sister parent, and it's hard. My goodness, when my friends and my sister, when they're parenting their kids, like even I was at my friend's house yesterday, love her children, but I just looked at them at one point and I was like, parenting is hard. So if you're a parent out there, bless you. Parenting is so hard because you have so much weight and responsibility to train this child, so much that you need to teach them. But we see here biblically, God's telling parents, your role, number one, is to teach them how to follow me. And then also to teach them what they need to know out in the world. That's hard. It's hard work. But also, Paul tells us in the verses in Colossians and Ephesians, not only is your role to do all of that, to train them, but also you have to do it in a way that doesn't exasperate them, doesn't embitter them. And what does that mean? Well, because obviously, parenting, just being an auntie, I've learned this. But there will be moments where kids are mad at you. And Paul's not saying there will never be moments when your kids are frustrated or mad at you. Because let's be honest, kids, we love them, but they get these great ideas, or ideas that they seem good to them, like putting their finger in the wall socket, or only eating pizza for the rest of their life. They won't eat veggies. Or riding their bikes off the roof. These seem like great ideas to kids in the moment. And it's our job as the adults in their life, as the parents, as the aunties, to say, no, that's not a good idea, right? And they're going to be mad. But Paul's not talking about that in that moment, right? Because that's just we're keeping them safe. We're doing what's best for them. But when Paul tells us not to exasperate our children, he's implying, he's telling us to not create a pattern of parenting that breaks your child. So don't create a pattern of parenting that's really critical. Don't create a pattern of parenting that sets such high standards your kids can never meet them. Don't set a pattern of parenting that your kids don't feel safe in. That's what Paul is saying. Don't be a pattern of parenting that crushes your child's spirit, but you want to encourage them. When you parenting should be done in a way that there's standards and there's guidance and there's discipline, absolutely, but there's also love and there's grace. So Paul is just saying, you got to have the whole picture there, okay? So don't be the dictator, but make sure you have that balanced approach, the way that God has with us. I know Paul doesn't say that, but when we look at Scripture, God is the perfect Heavenly Father, and He demonstrates all of that to us, right? He disciplines us when we need it, but He also extends so much grace and so much love, and we have a safe relationship with Him. And that is the model for what parenting should be. So then we get back to these verses in Deuteronomy that we read, where God says to, kids, honor your parents, but then God also tells the parents to walk in the ways of His commands, to follow His commands. It comes back to those first 4 commands, right? To put God first, to have a Sabbath, to watch how you represent God, all of that. And when a parent, first and foremost, needs to model that should be they need to be right with God. And as a parent is honoring to God with their life, their children see that, right? In the conversations you have in the car, as you are playing Lego and they want to hit their brother, and you have that conversation, this isn't really how we honor God, and this is how we deal with the relationship. And as we have those daily conversations, you walk that out and you show them what it means to honor God, then as your kids honor you as a parent, they learn also to honor God, because they're like, oh, my mom and dad were like this. They were like this with God, and they were tight with God, and they showed me what it means to follow God, and I'm honoring them, I'm obeying them, but they're actually also learning how to obey God. And so that's this beautiful picture that God has created here in this command. That's the original intent for the command for family, and that's what it should look like. Again, it doesn't always look that way, but it should. That's God's intent for family. And then we also see in the command, there's a second part that says, honor your father and mother so that it will go well with you in the land the Lord is about to give you. Now, that's a very specific promise to the nation of Israel. They were about to enter the promised land. And part of them going into the promised land was God had said, like, you get to stay in the land, but if you turn away from me, if you worship other gods, if you stop following me, the consequences will be that you'll be removed from the land. That was part of the deal for the promised land. And so when God's telling them to honor their father and mother, again, he's telling them that with the intent that as you honor your father and mother, you'll learn how to honor me because they're going to honor me. And that will keep you long in the land because you will all keep serving me and following me, and you'll get to stay long in the land. So that is a very specific promise to Israel. But even though it's not a promise directly to us, there's still some truth in it, right? Because as kids obey their parents, it does protect them from things. Because ultimately, parents, you care about your kids. You want the best for them. You want to see them grow up and have great lives. And so that is kind of that's the root and the motivation behind the rules, the guidelines that you put out. It's like, okay, like, again, we don't climb and ride bikes off the roof. Why? So that you don't get hurt and die. Like, so we're prolonging your life right there. And so as kids obey their parents, naturally, there should be that element of they will have a better life and they will live longer, theoretically. It's not guaranteed, but the logic is there, right? And so this promise, or this command, to honor your father and mother is really a command to protect us, and a command, again, so that kids learn what it means to have a relationship with God. And as I was writing this, it occurred to me that, and that's the example that Jesus set for us too, right? Jesus always honored the Father and obeyed the Father and did what the Father said, even though it was hard, even though he didn't always agree. Oh, I don't know, I shouldn't say that. Even though it was hard, Jesus definitely agreed. He loved us. He wanted to go to the cross. But for us, we honor and obey even if we don't always agree, even when it's hard, even when we don't understand. But Jesus set that example for us. So this brings us to the question of what does it mean to honor? Like, what does the word honor even mean? Like, I like to break things down to help them understand. And so the Hebrew word used here for honor means to have weight, for something to be weighty. And when we talk about showing honor to your parents or honor to someone, it talks about giving that person weight or significance. It's like showing them weight and significance. It's an action word. It's more than just what you say. It's you show it with your actions as well. So in just generally, if we were to show honor to someone, it would be like if the Queen came in, we would all stand up, I think, or bow. I don't know but we would do something. We would probably all do different things because we don't know what to do. But we would do something. If the Prime Minister came in, we would probably all stand up, right? Just to show honor because of his position of authority. We do something to show honor. Another example I thought of is if you're going out for coffee with someone. It's a great way. Put your phone away. It's showing them honor by giving them your full attention. Simple way. Another example I thought of is like if we're in a place where there's chairs, but all the chairs are taken and someone comes in, we could show them honor by giving them our chair. Especially if they're older than us, we respect them, so we give them our chair. So honor is something we show, not just something we say. It kind of, the two go hand in hand. And it also, our actions, there's a verse in the Bible that says, what's in your heart comes out your mouth. And that also applies to our actions. And so honor is really an attitude of the heart. And so for us to show honor to someone, it starts inside. It starts in our heart. We have to care enough about that person or that thing to actually show them honor, or else we won't do it. So it comes from inside our heart. So that brings us to the question of what does it look like for us to honor our parents? And especially in those situations that were less than ideal. Those situations where our parents have hurt us, or the situations where our parents have left us. Like our parents had addiction, their own issues. Like, how do we honor parents who were less than ideal parents? And that's where the painful comes in, right? The ouch comes in. Because not everyone grew up with parents that were amazing, and really no parent is perfect, but some parents were really difficult. And so let's just look at this. So the very simplest, when we teach it to kids, we say to show honor to your parents is to obey them. But then I usually follow it up with obey them with the right attitude. Because we know, there's a saying that you can be 100% right and 100% wrong in what you say. And so, or how you say it, sorry. You can be 100% right in what you say, but 100% wrong in how you say it, right? And that we can obey our parents, but if your parents in the room, or you've worked with kids at all, when you're like, go clean your room, yes, mom, that doesn't seem very honoring, right? So when I teach it to kids, and it would apply to us as well, when we obey, when we listen, we need to do it with the right attitude. So we might not agree, we might be frustrated, but we're like, okay, mom, I'll go do it. Okay. Like we save the theatrics, right? We have that, we check our attitude. Honoring also could be, just as we get older, it could just be choosing to spend time with our parents or our grandparents and choosing to listen and consider their wisdom. Doesn't mean we have to follow it, but just giving weight and value to the things that they say. And we weigh that as we make decisions. That shows them honor. It's not just writing them off like, I'm 18 now, don't have to listen to you. Like, they still have stuff, they still have wisdom to offer. As we get older, making sure their needs are met in like the appropriate ways. Every family is different in how that works, but just ensuring your parents are cared for and their basic needs are met as much as they'll allow you. And I really think there's so much more. And these are just the very simple, practical things, because every person is different. Every family is different. And showing honor to one parent might look different than another parent just based on their personality. I was thinking about my parents. My mom is a time person, and so for me to give her so much time is really honoring to her. My dad, he just wants to hear from me. So text message, phone call. It's not enough to just call mom, but for me to call him, like that speaks the world to him. And so I was just thinking, like with parents and really anyone, to show them honor, it's going to look different. There's lots of ways you can do it. But again, what about those situations where it's hard or maybe not healthy? To maybe your relationship, it's just not healthy to have like a day-to-day relationship or be in contact with your parents. And those can be really tricky. But it doesn't mean that we're off the hook from that command. And so when I did some research, I prayed about it, and I really think here are some things some steps you can take to honor someone who might be hard to honor. And the first is to start with you, to start with your own heart. And if you've been hurt by a parent or really anyone, the first thing is to allow God to come in, to work towards healing. And, go for counseling. Allow God to work. Like, do the work to heal yourself. That's the first way that you can honor your parents. Because as you work and as you heal, you will have a better life. Your life will be better, which is the end goal of a parent, right? So work on yourself. And that's not always easy. And it could take time. But that's a great place to start. I'm going to honor my parents first by just working through the hurt that they gave me. The second thing I thought of was just to invite God into that relationship, because God has been with you from the day you were born. He was already there when everything went down, when it continues to go down. So invite him in. He knows the ins and the outs. Ask for his wisdom. Say, God, hey, where should I have boundaries here? What should I do? What shouldn't I do? Let him help you navigate those relationships. And use the wisdom that he gives just to honor in the best way that you can. The third thing, and this goes a long way when someone's hurt us, is to just pray for them. Even recently, there's been people that have hurt me, and as I was trying to work through, just working through those emotions, I just felt impressed every time their name comes up to just pray for them. And it's amazing how that shifts your perspective on a person by just praying for them. And it doesn't have to be a long, complicated prayer. It could just be, God bless my dad today. It could just be a simple prayer like that. But that's honoring them because you're giving weight in that moment. You're giving weight to give him to God, give your parent to God. And that's value, and that's honor right there. And then the big one, and this is probably the hardest thing, is to work towards forgiveness. And that can be extremely difficult to do. And really, forgiveness is something we could spend a whole sermon series on, a whole Bible study on. It's really, there's so much there. There's so much scripture, and I don't have time really to dig into all of it today. But the thing is, we know that forgiveness is a biblical principle. We know that God forgives us, and he calls us to forgive others. But the important thing to know is that just because God calls us or asks us to forgive, that doesn't mean that he's saying that what that person did was okay. He's not saying that. He's saying, I'm your heavenly Father. I'm a perfect Father, and I want the best for you. And he recognizes that when we hold on to anger, it creates bitterness and hurt, and all of that keeps festering inside of us, and it prevents us from living the best life that we can live, right? Because we're holding on to that, and it affects how we interact with people. It affects how we view ourselves. It affects how we view the world. And God is saying, that's not the life I want for you. You're my child. I died on the cross so that you could be free. And so don't hold on to that. Like, let it go so that you can live the best life that you can. And the great thing is he will help us do it. It might be a process. Probably not going to happen overnight. It could take years. But to work towards forgiveness is a great step towards honoring difficult parents. And I think that because parents are not perfect. I love my parents, but they weren't perfect. I can say that. This is going online, but they would acknowledge that themselves. Like, parents are humans. They're sinful people just like us. And so I think that probably all of us in some degree have experienced pain or hurt at the hands of our parents. Even the most amazing parents will fail at times. And that affects us. And so probably for all of us, there's things that we've had to over the years work through. But as we forgive our parents or forgive those who hurt us, we're choosing not to hold that over them anymore. And that's really releasing them to God. And that's honoring because we're letting God be the one to work that out with them. We're choosing to walk away and let God handle it. And that's probably the very honoring thing to do. And then the other one, and this could apply to all of us as well, regardless of your family situation, is to watch how we speak to them and about them. So again, like when we're talking to our parents, no matter our relationship with them, like just watch that we're being Christ-like when we speak to them. That may not always be easy. Parents and kids, parents can drive us crazy sometimes. Love my parents, but they drive me crazy sometimes. But watching how we speak to them and that I'm being Christ-like, that if I'm getting frustrated, I walk away, or I do what I have to do to make sure that I am representing Christ well in those moments and trying to honor God in how I speak to them. But then also when I talk about them, like, watch, because you can speak truth without being critical or vindictive or out to like kill. You can sometimes just speaking the truth, like just the facts, is enough said, right? Like sometimes you don't have to go the next step to be like, "Wah!" and like tear them down and call them names or whatever. And not every time your parents are mentioned needs to be a time to tear them down or to talk negatively about them, right? So just watching how we speak to them, watching how we speak about them. And I just thought it comes back to that. I don't even remember which kids show. Maybe I don't remember. But when I was growing up, one of the shows, it was like very adamant rule that if you can't say anything nice, don't say anything at all. And maybe that's it. Maybe that's the way you honor your parents, is I'm just going to refrain from all of the things I want to say. And that could just be the most honoring thing you can do. That's great. Honor them that way then. And then finally, I think another way to honor them is to break the cycle. Because we know that hurting people hurt people. And so if you've had parents that have hurt you, I think statistics show us that realistically it means that they probably were also hurt by their parents. Not in every case, but in a lot of cases. And so we acknowledge that if they were hurt by their parents or hurt by someone, and that's caused them to hurt us, then for whatever reason, they weren't able to break the cycle. They were hurt and they continued that cycle of hurt towards us. And for whatever reason, they couldn't stop it. But we could honor them by being the ones that do. That say, you know what, Mom and Dad, I recognize that you were hurt. You couldn't do better, but I'm going to do better instead. Like for you, for me, for my kids, for our grandkids, I'm going to do better. And maybe you've already raised your kids and you're like, well, Pastor Kim, my kids are all adults now and our relationship is not great. It's never too late to start. It's never too late. It might be harder. It might take time. It might not look the way you wish it did, but we can always choose to do better. And God will always honor that and walk with us because we serve a great God who's a God of the impossible and a God who heals broken things. And so if you're really honoring him and trying to do better and break that cycle, he will honor that and he will walk with you through that. And that brings us back to the purpose behind this command really is to, as we honor our parents, we learn to honor God. And to be parents that honor God and are worthy of honor too, right? And so that's the goal in all of this, is just to have a healthy family dynamics. And again, we're not perfect. I'm not perfect. Sometimes I get frustrated. Like I said, I get frustrated with my parents. Love them, but sometimes I lash out. I know you can't picture me lashing out, but I can yell sometimes. But the goal is always to honor God and to have that healthy family relationship. And every family's different. It's going to look different, but that should be our goal. God, I'm going to honor you by trying to be honoring here. And I know that this is can be a hard topic for some. And so I wanted to finish. I didn't want to just send you out the door and be like, word, drop, go. But I wanted to be able to give space if there are people here who this might be a difficult topic. And you're saying, Pastor Kim, you're really hitting some buttons today. And that's fair. And I acknowledge you. And so I want to give a little bit of space. We don't have to have a long space. But what we're going to do is, I think Todd's just going to come up, maybe sing through part of a song, and just to give some space for you to respond on your own. Or if you're I could really use some prayer support about this, I do have Sharon and Luke are going to come kind of hang around the front, and Martha's going to come hang around the front. So if you do need someone to pray with you, they're available. But yeah, Todd's just going to lead, and then I'll wrap up, okay?